or the same weight, but just more water, more, you have 2 cups instead of 1, you have double what you had to begin with. After you've held this for a while, the pressure and stuff that on your muscles, eventually your arm will begin to break and bend. And then you add another extra weight, and then if I had 2 or 3 more things to add on top of that, 2 more things on top of that, it'll just get heavier and heavier and heavier. Alright. Yes, I am. After a while, the weights that we put on ourselves will begin to weigh us down. They will stress us out. Our bills, our our relationships, our work, problems at work, the things that we do, if not put down, put away at the end of the day, they're going to weigh us down. So at the get my thing out here so I don't miss anything. So to relieve the stress, we would actually have to put down the glasses. We would have to put down the things that we have in our hands. Life's problems are something like this. So I want you guys to think of your marriages for a moment, okay? You can think, even kids in school can think of their day-to-day things. You know, the math that they've got to do, the problems with their friends. But I want the people that's married to think about your marriage for a moment. Think about the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. They're needful things. You have to go to work. You have to take care of the kids. Those are things that you have to do. We can't get out of that. But what happens is, if you take all the problems that you have throughout the day, all the stress that you've encountered throughout the day, and then you bring it home to your spouse, well, all that becomes weighted, and then before you go to bed, lots of times you've snapped. I've done the same thing. You know, we deal with the kids all day, and we love them, but it's stressful. And at the end of the day, you know, we come home, and if we're not careful, if we don't leave that at work, and Brother Mitchell, I mean, that's just, you vent, you know, you have to get stuff out. You can't hold everything in. I'm not saying that, but if you bring everything home to your spouse and then you don't release that, if you don't just let it go before you go to bed, then the next morning what happens? You still have that weight. You still have that stress in the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So if you encounter an argument with your spouse during that time, what's going to happen is you're going to get up the next morning, if you don't resolve it before you go to bed, is you're going to have that stress the next day, the next day, and the next day. Well, Brother Mitchell and I, when we first got married, he never would let me go to sleep unless we've resolved a conflict before we went to sleep. Now that meant...
We didn't sleep much.
It meant 2, 3 o'clock. If I had to get up at 5 o'clock or he had to get up at 5 o'clock, if we had a disagreement, we would stay up till 3 o'clock if that's what it took. He would not let me do that. He wouldn't let me leave the house, because the Bible says to not let the sun go down upon your wrath. You're not supposed to ever, ever, ever lay your head down on your pillow with all that weight. And there's a reason for that, because the Lord knows that we can't take that stuff as human beings. It's just too much. You've got to learn to put the glass down. You've got to learn at the end of the day to let it all go, and don't pick it back up the next morning. I don't know how many times I would try to say, well, remember, no, we don't, that's gone. That's another day. No, we don't need to remember those things. We need to let it go, work it out, and then, you know, move on. It's important to think of the challenges and problems in our life or in our marriage. It's more important to lay them down. We cannot take everything that we encounter, all of our moments that we have because we're married and we have those moments, and we cannot keep them in our hearts, in our minds, because if we keep them there, they're going to rise back up. Just like we talked about that first time about hoarding all your thoughts and all those things. Let's not hoard those things. Let them go. Put them down. forgive each other, because that's what God requires of us.